Welcome to Quantum Alchemist Master Podcast. In this space, we share our journey in the awakening and integration process without judgment, building an all-inclusive community of awareness, love, support, and full acceptance. Reminding you that you are the master, you are the healer, you are the medicine, you are a divine, infinite, multidimensional being. You are source in human form. We all are. Everything you seek outside of you is inside, inviting you to go within so that you remember who you really are. Step into your true potential, create your own reality, and contribute to the reality of the collective. The change starts with you. We're all one, and love is the answer. Hi, Richard. Welcome to the Quantum Alchemist Master Podcast. It is a pleasure to have you here today. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. A pleasure. Where are you tuning in from?
I'm in Nanaimo, British Columbia, Canada.
Nice. How's the weather there?
It's actually, I think today's a little bit overcast, but it's not too bad. It's warm. It was really sunny yesterday, but yeah, we're now getting into a bit of the rainy period. So We'll see how it goes.
Okay, just asking because here in Miami, it's summer pretty much all year round. So just kind of seeing how your end was. So I read a little bit about your bio, and I'm super curious, and I'm really excited that you're here so that you could share with our audience a little bit about you, your journey, your own awakening process, and anything you want to share with us. Really, the floor is yours. Please go ahead.
All right, thank you. So I've been exposed to spirituality and the paranormal since I was born. My father was one of the first people in North America to start a psychic fair and kind of bring psychics into the forefront. So as a young child, I was brought into these fairs. There was events. So I met all sorts of interesting people who gave me insight as a young child or made comments. But one of the most influential was a deep trance psychic that my father was a good friend of my father, and he channeled a group called the Evergreens. His name was Michael Reed. He was doing this from 1974 to about 2004. And when I was a young child, my parents would obviously ask questions, about their children and get certain insight. But I was privileged to talk to them when I was in my teenagehood, and I would ask like all sorts of interesting questions about absolutely everything from personal life to things about physics to mystical things to things about psychic stuff, etc. I filled my curiosity, and that taught me a lot about what it was like to communicate with the other side, because the other side had such depth of knowledge and insight, and they knew where I was going in a way. Like so they knew how to guide me without, I guess, me seeming like I'm being told what to do, because it's never, you need to do this. It's more like, this is what we suggest, or basically answering my questions, and then I'm free to decide where I wish to go. So that insight and enjoyment definitely was something that's been a part of my life. It's been a part of my family's life. And so later on, I was married, and I married the niece of the trance psychic. And when he retired in 2004, I took the job of archiving all his materials. And so when I did that, I was going through material, he was a avid book collector. So I was like going through all his books thinking, okay, what do I want? What do I not want? And one of the books I came across was called Breakthrough, an amazing experiment with electronic communication with the dead. This I found in 2017. I read the book. There was experiments that were done back in the late 60s. And so I was like, all right, well, this is exciting. I should try it. So I tried some of the experiments. I didn't get anything the first day, but the next day when I woke up, I made the change. And I actually heard a voice. And when I heard the voice, the first thing they said is like, "We have you found." And I was like, okay, so I assume that you must be my guides. They said, "Yes, we're associated with yourself." And I was like, okay, this is exciting. And I said, "Is there anything I need to know?" And they said, "Well, realize that you're not the only one who could do this. This is something everyone can do." So I was like, oh my goodness, this is so exciting. So I called my brothers up, explained what happened. And one of my brothers said, "Well, either something's severely wrong with you or this is real." And so he tried it. He got responses. He got excited. Then I had a tutor of my son try it. I told her what it was, walked her through the process. And when she tried it, she heard her grandfather speak through. And she her grandfather referred to her with I think she's it was a Hindu name or something that like only she would know, obviously. So it wasn't anything in the recording. So that was major validation that it's not just me. I found something. So then they helped me figure out ways to improve the technology so that absolutely everybody could hear it. Because in the raw beginnings, the best way to describe it, it wasn't that strong. It was hard for a lot of people. And some people could hear it. Now, absolutely everybody could hear it. So anyone who has or tries the Dragonfly will absolutely hear from the other side. So that was definitely my big journey, is learning from the other side, enjoying it, learning how to ask questions, and then finally discovering a way that everybody could do it, and then putting that into production and learning more about how to make this a streamlined process so it's easy. And that's been a journey in itself, because sometimes some of the advice I've received seems absolutely crazy because they come from a perspective that I don't see. And one of my classic examples is I had a car that was breaking down, but I had no money. I was separated. And I was like, I need to get a car. And they said, well, you're not going to need the money. Just search for a car. I was like, okay, you're crazy. There's no way this is happening. They said, trust us. Just search for a car. You will see. I was like, all right, well, I have nothing to lose. So I searched for a car, like making inquiries for certain dealerships. Well, one day I was on my computer and I got a text message from one of the dealerships saying, hey, that car you were interested, we have it ready if you want to test drive. All right. I got nothing to do. Sure, why not? So I went to the dealership, test drove the car, and I was like, wow, this is great. Wonderful car. I'll see you tomorrow. Well, don't you want to sign? Don't you want to buy it? I said, well, you want me to sign now? I said, well, if you want me to sign now, this deal has to be really sweet. Well, what do you want? So I looked around the dealership and they had a deferral program for new cars, 90-day deferral. So I said, well, okay, well, I want that. And I was thinking there's no way I'm getting it. And then the payments were quite high. So I said, well, I want the payments lowered. And he says, okay, let me talk to my manager. He came back about 10 minutes later and said, okay, we'll give it to you. I was like, excuse me? So I literally handed the keys to my broken down vehicle, received the keys to a brand new vehicle, and I had no money down. And I was like, this is unreal. I can't believe I'm driving with no money, just as they said. Now, to top it all off, this was prior to COVID. So the bank that gave me the loan offered certain COVID deals because they were offering that here in Canada. So I called the bank and they allowed me an additional 6 months of deferred payment. So in total, I deferred the car payment for 9 months. By the 9-month mark, I had the money to pay for the car. So just as they foresaw, I didn't need the money. If I had continued the way I was thinking, I wouldn't have the car. I wouldn't have gone shopping. I would have waited till you had money, right? I didn't see that opportunity. I didn't see that choice was even going to be there. They did. They pushed me to do it. And in result, I benefited. And if I hadn't got that advice, like I said, life would be different. And that's only one example. I've got many crazy stories where I thought, there's no way, this is crazy. Why am I doing this? And sure enough, by the end of it, I'm like, they were right. Son of a gun.
I'm completely speechless. I'm still trying to process the entire thing. It's really amazing. Can you tell us, I don't want you to disclose your program, but can you tell us, is this like kind of similar to meditation, or more like, I don't know if you've ever done plant medicine, like you have some people have visions. Is it like
Oh, yes.
just a hearing? Like which clairs do you use more than others with this technique, or along those lines?
So with the dragonfly itself is an amplifier that amplifies you and the connection you have with your guides. What I also use is a sound file. So in other words, the Dragonfly comes with a free app that you would download. The app has sound files that basically sound like a busy restaurant. Now, it's non-discernible words. So your ear hears non-discernible words, but with the Dragonfly, your guides are able to manipulate, call it that portion of your mind, so that non-discernible words becomes discernible words. So you swear, I hear the following words, and in the following tone, the whole 9 yards. So the only way to get a record of the session is to actually transcribe. So I tell people, just write down what you hear when you hear it, and just focus, is there anything else? When you want to ask a question, it's simply ask it out loud or ask it in your mind. They will hear you either way. The most important thing is you write the question down so that you have reference to what did I just ask, so that when you hear the answer, you know what the answer is pertaining to the question asked. The other beautiful thing is it's possible to hear from a loved one. So when someone connects to a loved one of three things can actually happen. One is you will actually hear the voice you remember. Two, you could hear tones of the voice. So the way they would say certain words, you would hear that. Or the third thing is you would hear a voice that completely does not sound like them whatsoever, but they will say everything to give you the indication it is actually them. So the way I knew that basically is through the experience of myself and several clients who have reported back what they heard. It's not something I control. It's not something that's in the recording. It's strictly how the other side chooses to represent themselves. And I tell you, I've had people in grief that have used the Dragonfly, and it's definitely helped them a lot. I've had people go through one of the three examples, and it blows me away specifically when they do hear the voice that they remember, because I've had circumstances where I thought, there's no way, this person's in way too much grief. They won't be able to, there's no way. And I've been blown away. They're swearing to me. I hear my daughter's voice right now, and I'm like, mouth dropped. Okay, this is awesome. So it's just been amazing. But so in terms of what it is, it's mainly clairaudient would be the best example, but it also depends on you. So if you're one, like I'm very visual, so they will give me visuals sometimes of things that I'm talking about. Sometimes I could feel something. It depends on the person. If you allow it, it's possible to see, but it depends on you. Like if a psychic who is very visual or can actually see, it would be enhanced. So again, it depends on how they choose to deliver the message. Now, the other thing that I need to mention is, if you speak a second language, they will flip between your primary language and your secondary language. So me being, I only speak English. So I keep thinking that the non-discernible words that I created was only in English, until I had several other people like Egyptian, Polish, Russian, Chinese, Mandarin. All of them were reporting back their own language. And I was like, oh, fantastic. So yeah, it's been interesting.
How cool is that? So is it like how many files? Is it like too long? Is it like one each day for 30 days, or like how a reference of how many or how long is the music? Just so people can kind of know.
The sound file is 2 seconds long, and there's approximately 117 of them. Now, in 2 seconds, you can get like from one sentence to paragraph. So it depends on the person, and it depends on how much you focus on the audio that you're listening to. The way it sounds is kind of rhythmic. So it's like, it could be a single voice that's either got a neutral tone or a female tone or a male tone. Or it could be a mixture. So you would hear somebody start the sentence, one does the middle of the sentence and one does the end of the sentence, but it sounds like they're all kind of talking over each other. So the exercise in the mind is basically focusing. You focus on the dominant voice, write that down, then you can ignore that, focus on the next voice, and then you'll get the whole message. So, and sometimes there's been other voices that come in the backgrounds, like it's all over the board on, again, depending on how they wish to deliver it. And they deliberately exercise your mind so that you get stronger in your ability to understand and communicate with them.
Wow, my mind is just blown. This is amazing. When I started working with Akashic Records, I had a similar experience. So I write a lot.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I write a lot and I see a lot. And then I write. I used to write with my eyes closed at the beginning. Now I'm able to kind of like, the clairs have opened up a little more, and then I'm able to do other things. But it reminds me very much of that. So that sounds amazing, amazing, amazing. I've never tried anything with audios. So that actually sounds super interesting to try it. I'm all up for it. And then to share also my experience with others. That's going to be really cool. I love what you do. Is there any story that you want to share? Like, I'll share a story of me today. Today I woke up and I was feeling a little like cranky and not centered there. And I usually try to meditate and kind of, tune in and get the downloads and try to prime my day right. And then I tuned in and it was just not really what I want to hear. And then which is different than what I need. And then I was like, you know what, just give me a sign that I'm on the right track and send me a blue butterfly. I was like, there's no way I'm going to find a blue butterfly. Like, where am I going to find a blue butterfly? So yeah, then it's like, it happened on a meeting. The client was wearing the blue butterfly in a green shirt, and then blue and green is just, it really doesn't match much. It's like, it's rare that you would see a blue butterfly on a green shirt anyway. So, and there was, and the synchronicity there was. So it's just like little things that help you, along the way, like different type of guidances. Is there any stories? I know, I'm probably sure you have like a bunch, one that you could share with us, as to how the guidance kind of has helped you. Anything
Absolutely. I have like several stories in my head, but I'll tell one that really, really helped, and it was I would say somewhat where I was in a desperate situation. So I have three boys. My middle son, he was in high school and he was having problems, in a sense, understanding what needed to be done in school. He was confused. So he developed somewhat of an anxiety, but this anxiety was like, it was nothing I've ever seen. So late at night, he would start screaming and yelling, and he's like, he was big, like he's like 6 feet. He was stocky, and I would go in going, what's going on? What's happening? And he would just, tell me off, and he would start screaming again. And then sometimes he would come and he would attack me. And, being your own child, you don't want to be attacked and you're not going to try to hurt him. And I was just confused. I was like, what's going on? So the next day, and also what made it worse is this was happening late at night. So 1 a.m, and I was getting concerned for his other brothers who were sleeping. And, so the next day I was able to have a session, and I was like, what's going on? And they said, well, he's confused. And I said, well, what do I do? And they were like, just talk to him, like just change subjects, just talk to him. So next time it started again, and I would try to change subjects. So talk about something interesting, maybe something I learned on the internet. That seemed to help. It seemed to change his focus. And then he was able to fall asleep. And once he fell asleep, everything was fine. So my wife at the time, we both kind of collaborated in like what could be going on. And so through the guidance and through our determination, we discovered what we now know was he was simply confused, and he didn't understand within themselves that he could ask the teacher for help, or he could go to the teacher and say, I don't understand this. He just got frustrated. So when we started explaining that, that definitely helped. And as I was dealing with his anxiety, my guides would just keep telling, like, I would bring up, okay, this and this just happened. What do I do now? And they would just make suggestions. They offered like even certain nutrition, saying, I think it was they told me to give him like a liquid calcium magnesium. And he even reported that that definitely helped. So it took, I want to say, 6 months of persistence, and we solved it. If we had not done that, this could have been a situation where we would have said, nope, I mean, we don't believe in this, but we would have, I can imagine, started thinking medication, maybe he's just gone psycho, all sorts of things. But because of the guidance, because I was able to ask questions and bring up certain circumstances, they helped me tremendously on how to handle it. And it was beyond my like knowledge and skill set, because I mean, I knew some things, but I had no idea what to do. And so I learned a lot, and they were, also encouraging. And when I was worried, they would tell, I mean, besides saying, don't worry, they would give me answers like, you will see the following. And sure enough, that's exactly what I saw. So it's very interesting. Another thing, I would say another story or thing I've learned is you kind of go, well, okay, do guides predict the future? And I asked them this question, what exactly is going on? Can you predict the future? What's going on? And they said, no, that's not how it works. How it works is they know you so well that it's like they're the carbon copy of you, but perfect. Except if you believe in reincarnation or not, you incarnate, and call it, the job is to forget everything, start from a fresh slate. They don't forget. They remember absolutely every experience that you've ever gained. And they're also connected to every soul in existence. So they have all that knowledge, all that experience, all that insight that they can share, but they only share what they know is relevant to the life. Now, in terms of predicting the future, it's not that they predict the future. It's more like they know exactly what you're going to decide. And because they're in connection with everyone else, they know what they're going to decide. So it's almost like a roadmap where they go, okay, well, based on that decision, based on this turn, based on what that person's going to tell you, they know precisely 1 year, 2 years. They said it gets less precise as time goes by, but let's say in 1 year, they know exactly where you're going to be. They know exactly who you'll be with, what your surroundings will be like, etc., because they've calculated absolutely everything simply because they know you so well. Just like if you had a family member, the family member, their favorite foods, you know most likely what they're going to choose. If you're in a restaurant and let's say they're going to order dessert, you could probably pre-predict, well, Billy's going to go for the chocolate cake because I know Billy loves chocolate cake and this is a new chocolate cake. Billy's going to go for the chocolate cake. It's similar with guides. They know you so well that it's not predicting the future. It's more like they know where you're going to be. So they take the role. How do we get you to where you want to be, but faster? And the way to do that is they have to work with the way we think. So like my car example, they present options and ideas that we don't believe are available. But if you trust it and you follow it, all of a sudden your life gets accelerated and you get to, call it, the end result much faster. But sometimes the road can seem rough, but you don't know that the smooth road is not too far ahead. Just keep persisting. And that's what I've learned is just keep persisting, trust what's happening, and it's always worked out. I've never had a problem since.
Thank you for those words. I even wrote down here, I'm reading a book, and one of the things on it is, thank you, universe, for helping me see this obstacle as an opportunity. I will step back and let you lead the way. So kind of like that trust, right, that you were just saying. And I just keep hearing it. And you mentioned the liquid calcium and magnesium. I'm dealing with some things about my hormones. So that's perfect because I'm not necessarily taking it in liquid and it's definitely better absorbed. So I'm going to switch everything is perfect. The fact that we're here and you're sharing, your beautiful gifts and what you've been able to find out through your journey is amazing. Before we kind of go and finalize this, I had a couple questions about kind of the program itself, and maybe this will help other people too. So let's hypothetically say you pick one audio, the first audio one, it's 2 seconds, and you didn't catch anything, or you think you didn't. Do you replay it again until you do get something, or do you try with another audio, or how does that go?
That's a fantastic question. So you listen to the first audio track and it automatically loops. So you just keep listening. You will hear the voice. It's just a matter of discerning what they're saying. So it's like your mind, once your mind locks into these are the words I'm hearing, it's like you can't unhear it. So that's all it is basically, is you're just listening to the 2-second voice file that's repeating itself. And then you just start writing down what you hear. Like you will hear the words. It's just a matter of writing it down. Now, what some people do is they try to decipher the message while they're hearing it. And if you kind of disagree with what you're hearing, you can dismiss it without giving it any thought. And I always tell people, write it down, think about it later. Don't think about it while you're hearing it, because, don't object to it. Just write it down. And that usually helps a lot. And sometimes the messages make perfect sense right off the bat. Sometimes it takes a bit of time where you get the aha later. And I've even heard people, hear something and they go, well, it doesn't make sense now. 6 months later, oh, I get it, right? Because it didn't pertain to then, but it pertained to something else.
Wow, that's powerful. So let's say I did listen to it a couple of times on loop and I finally got something, wrote it down. The next day, if I want, can you do it every day?
Absolutely. Okay. And you can re-listen to that first segment the next day and it'll be completely different.
That was going to be my next question. So how do you choose to change audios if every time is different? It's up to you, like intuition, or how does that go?
Keep it simple. So you state your question, you hear the audio, you write it down, and then you respond. To hear the next response, you go to the next track. So it's kind of like I think of it like a walkie-talkie where you talk, you wait till they talk, and then you talk again, wait till they talk. But in order for them to respond, you go to the next track. It is possible to hear the response in the first track because it is live. It's not like it's a pre-recorded. It is live. It just takes a bit more focus. Me personally, I cut it. I go super simple. I go, rather than just keep focusing, I rather just go to the next track because it's so much easier, so much faster. And that's how I tell everyone else to do it. But I've had people listen to let's say the first track and ask several questions and they get, new answers. But most people, I go, just skip to the next track after you've stated your next comment or whatever. And the key is treating it normal, right? Like we're having a conversation now. You want to treat it like that. Just have a normal conversation, normal question, and then hit play to hear what they have to say. That easy.
Very cool. And then just for general knowledge, are these like a specific hertz or binaural beats, or this is something completely different?
It's just simply, it sounds like you're in a busy cafe. So if you ever go to a busy restaurant and you know what that sounds like, that's basically what it sounds like.
How cool this is, honestly.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm going to add one more thing. There's 2 types of tracks. So I call the voice file that sounds like a busy cafe is called the basic track. Then there's the advanced track. The advanced track is pure white noise, but it's a white noise that's kind of, call it within the voice range, but all you hear is white noise. Now, after you've used the Dragonfly for, let's say, a year, you can possibly proceed to the advanced track, and that white noise becomes as clear as the voice file. In other words, you only hear voices, you hear no white noise. That is where it gets really cool. I have a few clients that are now on the advanced track. I myself only use the advanced track, but I've been doing it since 2017. But all I hear is voices. I do not hear any white noise whatsoever. And that, to me, I go, well, explain that one, right? Because it's like, how does white noise become a voice? But it's all because they're, in a way, they're talking to you telepathically. And the sound is strictly a tool to help trick the brain to say there's something there, because that's all it needs. But the Dragonfly amplifies it so you actually hear it. If you were to hear it with no Dragonfly, you would just hear white noise. And with the cafe file, you would just hear like a busy restaurant. Maybe someone who has very practiced psychic might be able to discern a word or so. But once you have the Dragonfly, it's like night and day.
Very cool. And then if somebody who's interested in purchasing the Dragonfly program, does this come with some kind of like training, guidance, a video instructions, or a PDF or something?
Yes. So if you go to my website, richardthecreator.com, and if you were to order the Dragonfly, it comes with a manual that you can now pre-download. So if you go to the product page and go to the bottom, you'll see you can download the PDF, but it will come with a printed copy. And then all the instructions are there. I've streamlined it enough so that people would have the greatest success. There's a link to the Google Play Store and the Apple Store to download the Dragonfly player. And then it's simply get pen and paper to take notes, turn on the Dragonfly, load up the app on your phone, have earbuds or headphones, and state your question. Or if you want, just hear what messages they have for you and just write it down. That easy.
Wow, that's
beautiful.
beautiful.
It's super, super simple.
So it's all in an app, essentially. So it's that simple.
Yes. And so you choose the way you want to take notes. Like some people use their computer, even use their phone. And you just have to write it down and then call it, let it rip, ask away. What do you want to know? Now, sometimes they use words that you don't know are words. Like I've heard English words that I'm like, is that even a word? And the internet becomes our best friend. So I'll Google search it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is a word. And then when you see the definition, it's like, oh my goodness, that pertains to the question I was asking, or that makes more sense now. Now I see what they're referring to. Because when you're trying to solve a problem, or if you want to get insights, sometimes it helps to do as much research as you can, because then you'll get more out of it. But even if you want to start with something you don't understand at all, they will give you, call it the basic framework. So let's say you were to ask something about mathematics or something. They would explain it to you in a way that you would understand, just to get the basics of the idea. And then you can proceed forward from there. So it's, wow. I say use the intelligence. I call it almost like the spiritual internet. Use the spiritual internet to your advantage and just have fun with it. And it's yours to enhance your life, right?
Thank you for sharing this. I feel like this is such an amazing gift for the world, right? For our ascension process and just the expansion of consciousness and everything else that we're going through. It's so valuable, such a valuable tool that we could use, especially for those of us that are just kind of like getting started, even though we're always in the process of expansion, right? But still, right? Like just, it's going to be a super amazing tool. Can't wait to share with everybody. Thank you so much. Where would you prefer people to contact you? Which social media?
I would say,
or website.
I would say contact me through my website, richardthecreator.com. What would be the other? You could look me up on Facebook, which is under my name, Richard Brayneau. But I would say go to the website first, because you'll get more information. And my email address is posted, so you can email me any questions. And the Dragonfly is up for sale. The price of the Dragonfly is 500 Canadian dollars. So it's around 377 US dollars. And then the buyer just pays for shipping, which depending on where you live, can be roughly 20 something Canadian. But again, it comes with a 30-day refund policy. So you will be, if you're not satisfied, you will be refunded on the Dragonfly purchase. You're just not refunded on the shipping, just because I'm a small time one-off creator at the moment. but yes, and the app is free. So when you get the Dragonfly, you link to the app. The app is free. It's all part of the package.
Perfect. And then what is it exactly that they're going to receive when you ship? What are we talking about exactly?
So they will receive the Dragonfly. Oh, I guess it's not visual. So you will receive the Dragonfly, the manual, and then you just proceed from there. So just read the manual. You can download the manual right now if you go to the product page on richardthecreator.com, and you can get a preview as to what to expect. And then it's that easy. You take out the Dragonfly, you turn it on, you load up the app, you listen or you ask questions, make sure you take notes, but you'll be up and running in literally under 2 minutes.
Okay. So let me, just because a lot of people are going to be listening via audio, so I want to make sure I give them like a picture, like a painted picture. The Dragonfly, could you describe it? How big is it? How much does it weigh? Like, what does it look like?
Okay. So the Dragonfly it's made out of a wood that is alder wood, which is a common wood in British Columbia. It's kind of tan color. It looks like a speaker in a way, but there is no sound coming out of the Dragonfly. There's a green LED up front, so you know it's on. It takes a 9-volt battery, which is in the back, but I will provide a battery with the Dragonfly. It comes with a printed manual, which is exactly the same as what you can download PDF. So the manual gives you a bit of a background as to who spirit guides are, what to expect, the importance of taking notes. It comes with a worksheet that helps you decipher your message. So you write down what you said, you write down what you've heard. If for some reason the message is unclear, then on the worksheet, you just break it down word for word, and then you write down the definition of each word, and then you put those definitions together. So it's kind of like, based on what you wrote, what's the gist of what they're trying to tell you? You write that message down, and then that's usually clears things up. It explains in the manual the idea that you listen to the first track, write it down, and then when you're finished talking on what you want to say, then proceed to listen to the next track. And usually there's 117 tracks. Honestly, it's rare for someone to go through all 117 in one session, but you can. And even if you did, and then you went back to track 1, it would start brand new, fresh. So there's, I want to say, countless number of hours of audio that, even though it's only 2 seconds, it will feel like it's hours upon hours. And awesome. That's it in a nutshell.
And then how much
it weighs is about a pound, just over, I would say under 2 pounds.
Okay. And then how many inches is it? Too tall? Is it like a base? Is it
4 inches square? So 4 inches by 4 inches by 4 inches.
Okay, cool. So they can put it anywhere.
Yes, it's designed to be portable, so you can take it with you anywhere you want.
Awesome. For travel, any issues like when you?
None.
None. Okay, cool. Sounds amazing. I'm going to leave all of the details on the description so they could just have a link that they could just click, and they don't have to, like, just if they're driving or whatever. A lot of us listen to it in the car, just to make sure that's handy when they do get a chance to click on your stuff. I can't wait to try it myself. So thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I can't wait to share your message. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.
Okay, you too.
Thank you so much for listening. For more, follow us on Instagram at Quantum Alchemist Master.